One Piece chapter 712, yo. That's all I can say right now. One Piece chapter 712. Like, I knew Oda was setting up zingers and everything. And after reading 712 chapters, it's like, if you've been reading the series as closely as I have, you should be picking up on a lot of the breadcrumbs that he's dropping. Really, I'd say probably around Water 7 is probably no later than when you should have been picking up on what Oda telegraphs. And this is the crazy thing, right? Like, how many plot twists is he going to be dropping in this arc? Because we're still, if we break it down into 3 phases, we're still in phase 1 of this arc. We're still in phase 1 because if you just look at the hero's journey, and that's something that Eiichiro Oda does use when he gets these different islands that he has Luffy and everybody explore. When you get to hero's journey, we haven't even fully met all the hero's helpers, because like every island Luffy goes to, he usually meets somebody, or the Straw Hats meet somebody that kind of guides them along the way. Somebody, even if they're the most minuscule character, is somebody that kind of guides them. And like the closest we could probably get would probably be Violet, but Sanji's more of a side character. He's not the main character, and I don't look at Sanji as this is going to be blasphemous. This is going to piss a lot of people off. But I guess I should just start off by saying I do love Sanji's character, but I don't look at Sanji as, I feel like the main Straw Hats are Luffy, Nami, Zoro, and Usopp. And I feel like everybody else after that, I feel like their support. And again, that's just me. That might trigger some people. Again, I do love Sanji. So it's going to be interesting to see, kind of where that goes. I guess you could say Frankie and that toy soldier, that would be another one of the hero's helpers. But this is what's crazy, right? Like when we get the Violet and Sanji interaction, and Violet's looking at Sanji, and she's just telling him like, look, you fell for it. You find out that she's a assassin of Doflamingo's crew and all that. When you find all that out, you're just like, oh, this is big. And that's what I get for cutting the camera on and recording while I got other videos rendering in the background. You guys just heard that. But here's what's crazy, right? Here's what's crazy. So when she uses her peeping ability, right? Like, I guess that's either her devil fruit ability or that's a form of hockey. But here's what's crazy. When she peeps into Sanji's mind, she is able to see like the skeletons and all that. And as soon as she got ready to start peeping, I'm like, girl, you got no idea, right? Like, you got no idea what you about to see in the head. And that's exactly what happens. And it's so hilarious. It's so hilarious because like she starts saying, oh my God, I've never seen so much filth in my life. Such a perverted mind. And it just throws everybody for a loop. And like, oh, well, he's worth 77 million berries. Let's just go ahead and kill him. And that's when Sanji, after everything, after being beaten to a pulp, kicked in the face, damn near knocked unconscious, Sanji's just like, hey, I never doubt the tears of a woman. I never doubt the tears of a woman. You told me what you told me, which is like, hey, I got a man I need you to kill. And he says, there's something more to your story. And at first I fell for it, right? At first I fell for it. I'm like, oh man, this dude Sanji just got caught out here simping, man. Like he fell hook, line, and sinker for this, man. Like they knew, women was his weakness, but Oda just flipped it on us. Yeah, Sanji is a simp. Like Sanji will go chase whatever pussy looks halfway decent, okay? But at the same time, Sanji, when it comes to women, this dude like. This dude actually has a pretty good read on him because, he caught right away, like, hey, there's more to the actions. And, I think there is something to be said about that because, a lot of, like, the sociology stuff that I've read, like, when I was in college and everything, a lot of stuff that's, and psychology stuff, a lot of stuff that gets put in there is, like, men are more direct. That's not to say women can't be direct, but like typically men tend to be more direct because of social conditioning, whereas women do things on a more subtle manner because of social conditioning. In a lot of cases, again, you can't put every man and woman in that category. And when you look at the way Oda writes his male and female characters, a lot of them tend to be direct, and then with the women, they tend to be a little more subtle. And so for this, Sanji just immediately caught like, hey, something ain't right with this chick right here. Something ain't right. Let me put on my white knight armor. Let me put on my Superman cape, my super pervert cape, and let me get down to the bottom of this. And he actually ends up using, what I like to call talk no jutsu, baby. But, he ends up talking her into it. And she ends up turning onto Doflamingo's people. And he says, like, hey, if what you said is true, if what you showed me is true, then you can leave this island with us. And so basically what she shows Sanji is she shows Sanji the CP0 coming. And that was your first, like, oh, snap. Doflamingo, there's something more to this character. Excuse me. But that's your first sign that there's something more to Doflamingo's character. And then the next sign that you get is when everybody's saying like, hey, yeah, this announcement's fake. Don't worry about it. And at first I'm like, why would CP0 be coming for him? Have Luffy and the Straw Hats really pissed off people to this point? And then at the end of the chapter, after Law has this conversation with Nico Robin, and Robin says like, hey, Usopp and I, we can't exactly help right now. We're underground. But once we get everything straightened out, we'll meet at the harbor. Just make sure you get out of there. This is what's crazy. Doflamingo shows up, and he's just putting on the act at first. Like, oh, you managed to get a vice admiral here. I can't believe this. And then Law says you're lying. And then that's when everything starts going. And he's just like, how could a simple pirate have the world government at his beck and call? And that's very strong language. At his beck and call. Like that shows a level of superiority. And Law just starts putting the pieces together right there. And he says, the only person who has that type of pull is the Celestial Dragon. And that Vice Admiral just has that, stunned expression on his face. And he's got like the little dot bubble, which shows like either shock or shows that he's thinking over what Law said. And Doflamingo, I feel like he's trolling right here. I think he's serious, but I feel like he's trolling too, where he says like, yeah, I guess getting down to the heart of the matter, I just wanted to kill you that badly. And this is the thing, though. I think Law's on to something here. I really think Law's on to something here, because just think about that for a second. Think about it. Like they say, nothing about Joker's past, right? Nothing about it. This dude, the warlords, it's not uncommon for them to have like their kingdoms and everything. Like we know that. Like Crocodile took over Alabastas. I mean, that makes sense. Whatever. Boa Hancock has Amazon Lily Island, right? Like, whatever. We know that happens. And yet at the same time, look at all of this. Doflamingo was able to get... Sorry to put this. Doflamingo was able to get a fake report put into the paper that shows power. He was able to have CP0 summit. It shows power. And the last time we saw CP9 and all that, and just that organization, was when it had to do with Nico Robin. And why were they after Nico Robin? Because of what happened on O'Hara, the island that she's from, and the fact that her people had discovered something that the world government didn't want to get out. So you have to be pretty high up the food chain or want it really badly. And I don't think that this is enough to just come after Nico Robin. I don't think that's the case. I really feel like we just found out Doflamingo, if he isn't a celestial dragon, he's got to be related to them in some way, shape, form, and fashion. Maybe in the same family tree, just not as high up. Maybe there's a tiering system or something. But I really feel as if that's probably the case here. And if that's the case, this is what I want to know. First of all, if this is the case, before I even get into what I want to know, if this is the case, Luffy just supremely, royally fucked up when he punched that celestial dragon at the auction hall over Cammy. Because that shows that like Oda has been setting this up for like chapter 500. I think that's when we got the Supernova's Worst Generation Ever chapter, and that's around the time Luffy punched the Celestial Dragon. I think that was like 503 or something. So if that's the case, If that's the case, Oda's been building this up for 200 something chapters. And that's what I love about One Piece is that like you never know when Oda is building something up, but once you see it in fruition and in motion, you know like, oh snap, this is what he's referencing from this time period. I mean that's really cool. And on the flip side of that, like you get the breadcrumbs. It's kind of like you get an ingredient list. Like you know you're making like some type of stew or something, but you don't quite know what type of stew until you get all the ingredients in front of you, and you're missing 2 or 3 things. And like, oh, I'm making gumbo. I'm making beef stew or something. Like you're almost sure, but you're not quite sure. So I mean, this was a good chapter, man. This was a hell of a cliffhanger to end things on. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But as always, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Have an awesome day, guys.